Hey, everybody. This is Dani Hampton, the host of the Real Dani Show. And today we are going to be talking about real estate in 2026. And what I hope that any buyer and seller gets to hear from their real estate agent, whether that's me or somebody they know, that is going to be honest with them and that they need to go through these 10 things before they make the move in 2026. So you guys, if you're watching me on YouTube, you're going to see me look at my phone, which is actually going to be a checklist that I will actually put in the show notes so you guys can go through these questions yourselves as you guys are thinking about making the move in 2026. And realtor friends, use this. I want you guys to truly have something to go through that question for anyone who is raising their hand saying, hey, I'm thinking about making a move this year, and use this as your own checklist. So let's go ahead and dive in. So as you guys see my phone, if you're on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. And we're going to go through this list. So for one, number one is going to be that not everyone should make a move right now. So I want you guys to be going through this list of why are we making a move? Is it for finances? Is it because of our lifestyle? Is there something that we're trying to solve here? So if these things are going to possibly challenge your finances, your lifestyle, your peace, these are little things that you guys really need to understand of what are we trying to solve, which actually goes into my number two thing, which is that we need to get super clear on your why. If it's not solving those things that we just talked about, your finances, your lifestyle, you are either making a big life change, because let's be honest, there are a lot of people who are going through life changes, whether that is a move for work, or maybe it's a move because you had more kids, or maybe you had family move into your home. There's definitely things out there that I see is a reason why people make a move, because they need more bedrooms. They need more square footage. I definitely see a lot of parents who, instead of moving them into any kind of home, they're actually moving in with their kids. So we're starting to see a lot more multi-generational family homes being built because they want to be able to have their parents come live with them. So getting super clear on your why, and it not being just because, right? You know what? I just, for some reason, cannot get this house figured out. And maybe if I just start fresh and start over in a new house, maybe that will solve my problem. That might make it a little bit harder. I'm going to actually bring up something that I feel like is probably a little harder for realtors to talk about, because, for one, obviously, you guys are not necessarily telling us the status of where your marriage is or how your family dynamics are. But the honest conversation I think that needs to be had is, are we trying to band aid something by going and getting a new house? Y'all, like I said, this is the Real Dani Show, and I really want to be real. And I think that's a conversation that not many are willing to have, because I do see sometimes that moving houses might be an actual band-aid people are using to solve a problem. Maybe their marriage will improve if they change homes. Maybe their family dynamic with their kids, either they're teenagers or they're little, or wherever you are in your life, this might actually apply to you, because you're sitting here going, I might be able to figure it out in a different house. So let's get super clear on our why. And to keep this moving along, going into number three, which is really understanding your budget. For one, I know there is 1,000 calculators out there, and it is so easy to just get online and just be able to calculate some numbers. But the honest to truth is that you guys need to actually understand your own finances. I know many people, depending on what type of jobs they have, they might not actually have a financial advisor and or have a mortgage lender in their back pocket. So starting that conversation, I know, is really tough. And I, of course, am always saying, have that real estate agent that you have a trusted relationship with. They should be able to refer you to a mortgage lender who is going to be honest with you and not just try to sell you. So they're not going to just try to fluff the numbers to make them look good, because I think that is the number one rule, especially as a realtor, is to make sure that you have a lender who is actually going to give them the real time information. If you do a pre-qualification application, those things are going to allow those lenders to see a little bit more of the inside of your finances and be able to advise you on, okay, maybe the payment you're looking for is not actually going to match what you're trying to buy. So if you're, just to give you some context here, if you're trying to buy a $600,000 house and perhaps not knowing that that $600,000 house might be a $4,500 monthly payment, and being able to go, okay, I didn't realize that. I thought that a $600,000 house was going to be a $3,500 payment. And then being able to go through all of your finances and be able to understand your budgets, because I don't know if you guys are like me. I mean, I'm just like any consumer out there, and I quickly realized how fast $1,000 can go and how many subscriptions. Oh my gosh, let's talk about subscriptions. I didn't realize how much money was just being spent because we had a handful of subscriptions that we didn't stop. So this is always a great check to go through. But yes, it is money. It is a hard conversation. And you got to be able to take those first steps to get an inside look. If you're not ready to talk to a lender, definitely just going through your own budgets and being able to see where you can make room if a new house is going to be super important to you. All right, to keep this moving along, we're going to go to number 4, which is the prices in 2026. So for one, don't get stuck on that sales price. I understand that is usually what we're looking for, right? That is what sets the tone, sets the budget. There is so many other factors when it comes to the price, because if you're like me, like any average consumer, I'm just thinking about my monthly payment. There's so many little pieces that make that number change, and understanding where you're looking, the property taxes, what insurance might look like, and also knowing that there is a lot of strategies out right now, especially with this market being more of a balanced market and there's being a lot more negotiations of seller contributions towards buyer closing costs and being able to buy rates down. These are things that would be super helpful for you to talk to a realtor or a mortgage lender about, because this could help you get into that higher priced home as long as you are being super smart about the strategy of the way the numbers fall. Don't get stuck on what the sticker price is. Truly understand all the other numbers that go into that. So for number 5, the non-negotiables, being able to truly understand what is a non-negotiable and what's a nice to have. Okay, let me go ahead. I'm going to actually just break out real quick on this, because this is why I have created my discovery tour. My discovery tour is something that I'm super passionate about because I think it's too easy. We get lost in this scroll of shopping online and just being able to put in some type of criteria, when in reality, I think that you don't really know what you want until you actually start walking through homes. And so my discovery tour I've put together, I do allow for my clients to give me some general criteria, because clearly there's probably a number of bedrooms you need, bathrooms you need, and you understand maybe the square footage you need. And then my discovery tour is where I test out some areas. I really want to understand if you are stuck on only wanting a home that is new construction. I want to understand how small of a backyard you're willing to accept, because I've had some people tell me that they needed a large backyard, and the house that we ended up helping them purchase almost had a non existent backyard. And it's because the things they wanted that became more non-negotiable for them was actually inside the house, and it had nothing to do with the yard. Being able to go through and understand what your non-negotiables are and what is just a want, and seeing how we can get those to match up along with your budget. So that is going to be something I am always advising, is where you have a professional helping you, because this is the part where we're not emotionally tied to what you end up buying. So for us to be able to help you understand what's a nice to have and then what is something that you would regret. The number 6 is going to be using data. So I don't want anyone getting stuck into the actual like news of what is online and what is on social media, or what their uncle told them, or whatever they're saying about the real estate market, but to actually understand the data of the homes out there. So this is going to be more applicable to my sellers. I actually just had a listing appointment today, and my conversation with that seller was that we need to just sit for a couple more years. They're in a home that is going to compete with new construction. And because they've only lived there for 2 years and they refinanced, they are now in almost no position with any equity to be able to make a move. And since they do not have to move, it makes more sense for them to just sit still. So we had to get really honest about days on market, how much they would have to sell for in order for them to not owe any money at closing. And then we went and looked at uh, how much that actually gets someone out there. So if we were just to give them a number of 600,000, if I looked in that neighborhood and said, okay, what actually is selling for 600,000 right now? And what that ended up turning into was honestly a house that was 1,000 square feet bigger than her house. My best advice for her was gonna be that we shouldn't sell right now because we already know that an appraiser is probably not gonna give us what we need, and it's not necessarily saying that she has lost a lot of value. It's just that she needs to sit a couple more years to allow for that equity to build up and for us to get more sales in her neighborhood from the data that shows that there are buyers willing to pay the price that she needs in order to make that move. So just relying on the data and actually not just falling into this is what you see online or what your neighbor might have said, to actually know what those true numbers are is super important. All right. So, number 7 is going to be inspections. So, here's the thing, when you are making a move and you're a buyer or you're a seller, if I had to give you advice as a seller, that if you are in a market that is competing with new construction, it's pretty easy that anyone is going to go, if I can get a new house for that same price, they're probably going to look at the new homes. A lot of times people are looking at new homes because they want all of those warranties. Inspections are usually that question mark that buyers have when they're looking at older homes. If they're pre owned, even if they're only a few years old, they want to know that the home is in a good place. So I would definitely advise that if a seller has the ability to do a pre listing inspection, that can very much be helpful. But also be prepared if your inspector finds something that might be something you need to address. And then, of course, for buyers, even if you're buying new construction, please make sure that you are getting an inspection done. There are so many builders because we are here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. We have so many new neighborhoods popping up, and these houses go up so fast. And not every builder has a great building manager in place. It might be a great builder name, but I wouldn't say that every neighborhood is the same. And so I would always advise that even if you're getting a new construction, that you're always getting an inspection. Number 8, I would say, is your pricing is marketing. So that is something that I don't feel like a lot of people are seeing. When I'm talking to a seller, we're always talking about what are they going to walk away with. And I don't want them to get so fixed on that, because for us to be able to go, okay, I understand what you need to sell your home for, but let's really understand that a price is usually going to be a marketing tool, because as a consumer, I'm usually trying to shop within my budget. And depending on where my budget falls, if you're over here trying to give yourself negotiation room and your person is only going to look up to a certain amount. So let's just say 500,000. So if someone who was going to buy your house, you were happy with 500,000, but you're trying to build a negotiation room to make sure that if a buyer does come to see your house, you have the ability to negotiate. So you might want to price your house at 525 or at 550 to give yourself some wiggle room. But what if your actual criteria of your home. So if your home was of a certain square footage and most of those homes are selling for under 500, your buyer may not ever look at your home because you are priced above. But pricing is not just about the net. I would say pricing is about the marketing. And so understanding that you want to make sure that your buyer actually sees you is going to be a very important tool. So that is something that we need to talk about whenever we're sitting down with our clients, to understand where our price is. And then number 9 being condition beats upgrades. Okay. Y'all, I have seen some beautiful homes online. And of course, I'm like, why is that house not sold yet? And then I realized quickly that when we actually go and see the house, the actual condition of the home did not show as well as the photos showed the home. So maybe you saw some shiplap on the wall. Maybe you saw some upgraded light fixtures. But if there is a pet smell, if you have scratched up baseboards, if there's scratched up floors, if there is chipped paint, these little things, the buyers are starting to add up all the things they're going to have to do to fix up this home. And because we are working in a market that has the higher interest rates, that I feel like people feel like they're paying premiums for them, and which is usually why they end up leaning towards those new construction homes because they know they could do a blue tape walkthrough. Versus on a pre owned home, condition matters. And if you're going to get a showing, you better do everything you can to get that showing to want to stay in your house and not just quickly turn around and walk out. And all right, you guys, final last piece of advice that I am trying to make sure that everybody has if you're a buyer, seller, or even a realtor who's going to use this checklist for your buyers and sellers in 2026 is that real estate is a timeline. So, again, going into number one, that maybe this is not the right time to move. But I believe it's always figuring out the timeline. Just because we're meeting today does not mean that we have to go put a sign in a lockbox on your house right now. We need to talk about that timeline and understanding all those other little things when it comes to your motivation and your why and what's most important to you, and then really digging into your budget. I know at the end of the day is going to fall into place of going, when is actually the right time? So let's actually figure that out. That's when we use the data to go, what's the average days on market? I'm so grateful right now that I have sellers who were open to putting their house on the market and knowing that, yes, we might find their buyer now, but it also could take 2, 3, 4 months to sell their house. And so I needed them to be open minded to that timeline. And because we looked at the dates, they were like, okay, we're okay with that. It's not gonna be like our market was a couple of years ago, and that's the part where I think the understanding your why and your motivation ends up being key because, yeah, if you're a seller thinking about going on the market, being on the market for 6 months and keeping your house clean is super hard. Like, I get it, especially if you're someone who has little kids like I do, or even just a dog. Y'all, my black lab, I swear every day I am vacuuming twice a day. So this is something that you really have to challenge yourself to go, am I really motivated and am I really okay to be on the market for 6 months? And for my buyers, if you have a lease ending in the summertime, or maybe you need to make a move in the summertime because you just know that having your kids out of school is just going to be the only thing that makes sense for you, then yes, let's go ahead and start putting together a game plan now. Yes, it is January. This is when I'm putting this out there. And I wouldn't say making a move in the summer that now is too early of a conversation because again, if you can be a planner and understand the market, understand what's happening, and actually knowing that there's some steps you can do beforehand and not just wait until you have to make a move, it is super helpful. I think it really helps everybody's stress levels for your realtors and for you yourself. So I hope that you guys found this helpful. I'm going to put this checklist in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll have it in the description below. And if you are thinking about making a move in 2026 and you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, of course, I would love the opportunity to help you. But if you are also a realtor and you found this super helpful and you're going to use this checklist to send out to people or post on social media, feel free to grab it. Keep on following for more episodes like this, bringing you the real time, real stuff, no fluff on The Real Dani Show.